Hey, it's Mike with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Thursday, and it is April 1st, April Fool's Day to be exact. No April Fools in the market today. It was all uphill today. It's been a great week of trading if you back out here and look. I mean, it's just been pretty much, especially the last 2 days, it's been all uphill. We really, the whole week has been pretty much up. I mean, you can see this. I mean, there we are. We went a little flat here for a couple of days, and once we broke higher, the last 2 days, been really great. We're headed to that 4100. I haven't looked at the daily chart. Here it is. I showed this the other day. Said that we're probably headed to this target. My target's up here at around 4100, and we are fast moving in that direction. So I figured once we broke higher, wouldn't surprise me if we pull back and test this double top breakout area. So we may correct a little bit, even if we're going higher. So don't get any wild ideas and start buying up and trying to hold on a daily chart, because it's hard to do. So this bar is almost, a couple of these bars are 100 points each. They don't look like much on a daily chart. That's the thing about price action. If you take the header off the chart, you can't tell one chart from the next. They all look exactly alike, and that's the beauty of price action. It works on any chart, any time frame, as long as that chart has sufficient volume and there's no lots of gaps and jumping around and stuff. As long as it's just like this, you can trade any chart, and price action works just the same. Now, each market might have a little bit slightly different personality, but the price action and the movements all work exactly the same. So you could look at a monthly chart. Somebody sent me a copy of a monthly chart, and I think it was pointing at a measured move. I just glanced at it. I didn't have time to spend any time with it to see if, I'm assuming he measured it right. But he said it was pointing at, I forget, 60 something, 6,000 and something. So, that's means we're almost going to double. So we'll see. But I'm feeling pretty confident on this 4100. Again, we may correct before we get there, but 4100 looks very doable now. It looked like it was a long way off when we were looking at it back in here the other day, especially when we went lower. But actually, we were looking at it just when it was trying to get right up in here, I think. And so we moved up about 100 points since then, 70 to 100 points. So anyway, yeah, I think we're going higher. But here we are back at the daily chart. We actually just kind of folded over here, and you'll see this a lot. This will start out steep. This one's still a little too steep, and then it'll flatten out a little, and then we actually accelerated into the close. But I guess people felt good going into the holiday weekend. Speaking of, tomorrow's Good Friday. No trading tomorrow. Well, you don't do a chart lesson on Fridays anyway, but there'll be no mid-morning chart, and I'm going to take the day off and take a long weekend. I've got some personal things I'll take care of this weekend, so I'm going to get a little break for another extended weekend. So hope everybody has a good Easter weekend, a good and enjoyable Good Friday, and just take a day off from your trading. But anyway, we're going to back out here. There's not a lot of trades today, but there were some really good trades, really easy. A lot of second entries today that were fairly easy to spot. Had quite a few emails, people telling me they had success today, and they really did well today. And I mean, if it was like this every day, it does make it easier. I mean, I love these big trend days. So when you get days like this, take advantage of them if you can. I only traded through the mid-morning, and I didn't trade this afternoon. So, okay, sorry, I had a little interruption there. But I can't remember what we were talking about. But yeah, it's all uphill today. And great trading day. I'm going to back out. We'll get through the trades, and we'll wrap this week up. We'll wrap the day up, and we'll come back and do it again on Monday. All right, 7 o'clock came just as we were making this little double top in here today. We actually made a new swing high here, so first entry, but finally you come up. This is actually a fail. Notice the new low. You move up, first entry short, second entry short. It fails, runs up. There was a real quick correction here. Not sure what happened. Was there a news item at 9 o'clock? So no, it's not a news item. So I don't know what happened right there. I think that people just started taking profits, and when it turned down, top pickers. So whatever happened, there was there was just a lot of selling there, but people bought right back in real quick. People saw that as a buying opportunity and came right back in. But this was a great failed second entry short. I posted a student trade who took this trade and filmed it, sent it to me. I actually recorded this trade and was going to post it too, but he sent me his, so I just went ahead and posted his instead. Show you that I'm not the only one that sees these. Other people see them too. So I sent you my student's trade. This was a great trade, and you got a nice runner on this one. If you weren't paying attention and moving your stop up pretty quickly, though, you could have got stopped out, and that's what happened to him. He was getting ready to move his stop up and lock in some profit, and it's just happened so quick. I mean, it was just, and then zoom, it just zoomed down. It just happened real quickly. So the way I exited this trade, I scalped out. I exited my runner on a little measured move here. I measured this move, and I scalped out in front of that. So I was scalping out just like right in here, I believe is where I got out on that one. And that would have got me out about the same place if I'd have tightened my stop up. So, but I just usually put a target in front of my measured move, and you can clearly see. And there's actually an opportunity. I mean, you don't want to overlook this, but you may want to look at, actually I would measure from here, and you can see that's where we went to. So this is like leg 2 of this measured move, and we actually got 2 legs corrected. And that's probably another reason this sold off quickly, because the smart traders know these measured legs, and they see this measured leg, and they're all exiting there. And when it starts to come down, they're thinking, okay, we've got a break of this channel and 2 legs up. This thing may sell off. So that could be what contributed to that. Just could have been a big, large trader that took profits right there. Who knows? But it doesn't matter. It was quick and easy, and we actually, if you measured this leg, as I just showed you, you can see we pretty much had a perfect measured move. I mean, to the tick. And you'd be shocked how often we do that. And that's how I'm getting that measured move on the daily to around 4,100 or so, exactly like that. So anyway, that was a great trade. I had comments that several other people saw and took that trade. So people are learning. It's not just me that sees these trades. If you learn how to do this, you can find them too. So, and especially these reversals like this, because they're generally traps and they move really quickly. You can see how quickly. I mean, this one took a second for some of these bars, but once it starts moving, it's usually pretty quick. But we run on up. This is just too congestive, even though it's off the trend line. I just don't think it's worth entering there. And then we're just getting too far away from the EMA here. But you could see just about any of these bars that pulled back. If you took it, you would have got a scalp. So, but then we back up and we just started working sideways here. This trade is one you might have taken. There's a break here. There's not quite a new low though. It's a double bottom. But we did make a low. It's first entry, second entry, but it's really looking sideways right there. So you might have taken that trade and you would have scalped out. But I felt like it was better to wait. And then you get a second entry long and another failed second entry short, because that's a new low. It's lower than that one. So first entry, second entry. And that was enough to finally push it on out of that range here. It's always, somebody asked me, I pointed out a trade very similar to this. I believe it was yesterday, and somebody asked me in the forum about it. What about going long into that resistance? Yeah, it's always a concern, but there's no rule that says you can't. So when prices try that many times to go lower and can't, and you find a trend line right there that matches on the other side, and then you can see the midline fitting in there, pay attention to it. Doesn't mean you have to take that trade. You may see it different than me. You may not. You may see it as more risky. But I felt like this trade was worth taking right here. And you could argue for it to be green, don't get me wrong. It's an inside bar too, but it makes a matching low, and it does confirm the trend line because you draw it off those first two. And I actually drew it off these highs and drug it down here. I originally had it a little bit lower, I think, but when we bounced here again, I tightened it up just a little bit, and it fit nicely here. And you can see we came back and it continued to hold till we got a break there. But by that time we were in the green channel. So I like that trade. It would have been nice if it would have broke lower here and you got another chance, or even here. But your failure doesn't come to way up here. This is basically a double bottom. So first entry, second entry. And I just think you're too far away from the EMA. But if you're just patient, a few minutes later you get a first entry and a second entry. You can see how that midline is holding. Bounces right off the EMA. I like that trade. And again, that's close to the resistance. This is a strong trend day. On a strong trend day, especially when you're getting very shallow corrections like this, you don't have any option. If you want to take a trade, now if it was a range day or a week uptrend day, I'd say no. Make sure you got plenty of room. But on a day like this, take the trade on the second entry. Even this trade right here, if you'd had a better signal bar, I would have marked it. It's really only a first entry, but you can clearly see two legs back to the EMA. And then it reverses. So the only reason I didn't like this one because there's just too much stem there for a first entry. But it's clearly two legs back to the EMA. And then it drops down. And again, not a good enough signal bar. It's kind of hard to see that signal bar, but let me move this stuff. You can see it's got stems on both sides. I think you got to wait on the second entry there, but it's right off the key entry point, and look at it go again. Boom. But if you miss one like that, there's just not much you can do. But if you just wait a few minutes later, we get a second entry right off the key entry point. Now this one you don't get a runner. That's what happens a lot of times when you're conservative. You just get the scalp, and that's all you're going to get. And when you take a little chance like here or here, you get these bigger moves. So, but anyway, that's a failed second entry short. Notice that new low, first entry, second entry, but more importantly, it's a second entry long. New high, first entry, pulls back. When it breaks higher there, it's a second entry. And it only gets a scalp because it only goes 7 or 8 ticks, I think. You got a couple ticks to spare there. But anyway, but then you get a triple test here. I marked this one green. And a couple of reasons. It's a triple test. You made that low. You test it once. You test it twice, really. The line should be right about there. That's the way that should look. And I actually ended up moving this up later in the day to right there. So even if you had it right there, it doesn't matter. Still fits. And it's off the lows. Just make sure you got enough room back to the highs. You might let it break higher right there and drop a 11 order in. That's the reason I marked it green. It's not a great signal bar, but you could look at it like a trap, and it's a triple test. And then we're just kind of working sideways. And you can tell when it came back here, normally that might be a good entry bar, but there's no rejection down here. We're just kind of hanging around, so that's not very good. But then finally it bounces out, comes back. You get a first entry short, then it pushes higher again, pulls back. You get a failed second entry short. You're going long right into the highs again, but this has been a strong trend. And I marked this one. It is aggressive. I did mark this one green because this is truly going long right into the highs. But with that failed second entry short, I'm taking that trade because if it breaks higher, I guarantee you there's sales stops up here. I guarantee you there's people been load up on thinking it's about to turn, and they have all their sell stops up here or buy stops up here when it case it breaks higher, and a bunch of them want to go long with it, so they're going to, because they teach them to break by the breakouts. And you may only get a scalp on one like this, but you might get lucky and get a big move. So I'm just looking for a scalp there. But if you're patient, a few minutes later, first entry, second entry. And again, first entry, second entry, failed second entry. So you might have thought about entering right there. The only reason I don't like that one is because we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 bars stacked up there, side, pretty much side by side, and they're really, most of them are all inside that bar. So I wasn't crazy about that one, especially when it didn't close on its high. But when you get the second entry there, go for it, and you see it takes off. And we're just working. There's too much sideways stuff here. I don't see any reason to be trying to pick a short of any kind. And this one is tempting right here, but we just came off this high, and we haven't been back down to the trend line in a long time. We're below the EMA. We're below the midline. I just can't justify that one. Then you had your failed second entry short right here, but it never triggered until we had too many sideways bars. But if you just wait, a few minutes later, you get another second entry long. Notice that high, first entry, corrects when it breaks higher, second entry, and it's right off that short-term key micro trend line. I like that trade. Again, you can see we double tested that. It almost looks just like this. I mean, it's like a repeat pattern. Look how similar it looks. And off to the races it goes again. And that takes you into 2 o'clock. I don't see anything else that I'd take there. So not as many trades, but these are some really good trades today. You only needed 1 or 2 of these, and there was some good run. This first trade right here was a really nice trade, though. And obviously a lot of people saw it. So people are learning, and people are figuring, it's not just me that sees these failures and things. But again, if you're new to this, if you're just trying to learn second entries, forget about, as good as failures can be, forget about them, because the idea here is not to take more trades or not to take these more advanced or more aggressive trades. The idea here is to take the softball lobs and knock them out of the park and make money. So if you want to make money, sit here patiently and wait for the with trend second entries, and there's several of them today, and you'll do just fine. And as you get more experience, and once you start to see this stuff, what I try to explain to people is once you start to see it and it becomes second nature, and you're understanding second entries and the basic price movement and all the basics, the failures all will start to pop out to you. And somebody said that the other day, said, they sent me I think maybe it was in the forum, they said, is this a failed second entry short? This just popped out at me. I wasn't even looking at it. And sure enough, it was. And that's the idea, is that you will start to see it without having to ask, without having to guess, without being wrong. They will, once you understand what prices are doing, and you understand where they're going and where they've been and where they're headed with the high probability, they start to make sense. So, and on a day like this, you're not looking, the only thing you're looking to do is get long. The only way you'd want to take a short on a day like this is when you suddenly get another trend, a new trend that's working lower, and we're all below the EMA and it's pointing down again. Otherwise, stay with the bias, because it's up from the get-go. I mean, really, this first bar, it started higher at, what is that, 2204. So that's about 10:04 last night Central Standard Time, and it's been up ever since, right dead into the close. And prices basically moved from 3960 something to 4015. So That's a great move. And let's hope it keeps doing this. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. It's 20 minutes here, 21 minutes almost by the time I get done. It will be. So, again, no trading tomorrow. It's a holiday, Good Friday. So it'll be extended weekend. I'm going to take the day off, so I'm going to be slow to answer any emails. I probably won't answer anything but emergency emails. And hope everybody has a great weekend. We'll be back again to do it Monday. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.